Runners, please. I'm going to pass out note cards, and on them they're going to say, what is your identity? Do you know your identity? And how do you want people to identify you? Thank you. Thank you. I know a girl. Everybody, and I mean everybody, views her and identifies her in a certain way. But she doesn't want to be identified that way anymore. She wants to be identified as this. She did some really crazy, outrageous things, and everybody hated her for it. But it helped her break the mold from this to this, and that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about identity, transgender and pronouns, and how to respect them. First, I'm going to talk about identity. College and identity kind of go hand in hand. Everybody forms their identity, usually, in their late teens, early 20s, so when most of us are in college, right? Well, college is not only an academic place, it's also a social place. We join different social groups, which helps us form our identities. There are many negative impacts of not knowing our identities. This usually means you haven't found a comfort within your appearance, your sexuality, your gender, your social status, and or your culture. If you have a strong sense of your identity, it usually helps with your self-esteem. So you really want to get a really good understanding of your identity. People are often treated very, very badly for their identity. This usually includes bullying. A study done by Indiana State University showed that 22% of students have been cyberbullied and 15% had been bullied at college. %39 of the students knew someone who had been cyberbullied, and 9% of the students admitted to cyberbullying. 42% of the students had witnessed bullying. Next, I'm going to talk to you about transgender and pronouns. Transgender is when you want to identify as a gender different from the one you were born as. This often causes people to go through things to transform into the gender that they want to be perceived as and identified as. This often leads to wearing a binder, cutting their hair short, or growing it long, or changing their name, their pronouns, taking testosterone if they want to be viewed as male, taking estrogen if they want to be viewed as female. I'm going to show people a picture here, and it shows a couple pictures of people before and after their transitions. One of them is Caitlyn Jenner, mostly because she is really identifiable, so it should help connect things for people if they're not following along and understanding. Also, genders. There is a lot of genders. Even I don't know all of them, even after all the research I did on this topic. There is cis male and female. Cis means you identify as the gender you are born as. So, for example, I was born female and I identify as a female. That means that I'm a cis female. Then we have transgender, which I just explained. Then there's gender fluid. Gender fluid, which means you're kind of both genders. you kind of fluctuate between male and female. You're never both, you're never neither. You're kind of just in between. You do both. It's a little bit hard to understand, but I even struggle understanding it. I just accept people who identify that way. And then there's gender non-conforming, non-binary, gender neutral. There's a whole bunch of different terms for it, but it basically means that you don't identify as male or female. You don't really identify as a gender at all. And then to further explain this, I show a video. It's a minute long. Then there's pronouns. Pronouns are words that replace other nouns. Most of us think, when we think of pronouns, we think he, her, she, him, or he, him, she, her, sorry. But there's more than that. Confusing, I know. But there's gender neutral terms also. They, them, sie, here. I know, confusing. So I have this image to explain. I'm going to show an image and talk about it. And then there are ways to respect people's identities. Identities are really, really important. There are ways for us to express ourselves. To be able to tell people, two different people, and I'd be able to identify each of them completely separately. They're a way for us to be unique. There are very many positive and negative effects of people who have been accepted by their friends and family and people who have not. A study by Health and Access Care and Coverage for LGBTQ individuals showed that 41% of trans people have attempted or committed suicide. That is 4 times more likely than cis straight people. 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ. Now for the big differences. For the people who are rejected from their friends and family are 8.4 times more likely to commit suicide. They are 5.9 times more likely to have high depression, and they are 3.4 times more likely to use highly illegal drugs than people who are accepted from their friends and family. This is one of the reasons why it's so important that we accept and respect these people. It has such an effect on them. Now, there are multiple ways to respect these people. Just validate them. Tell them that you respect their identity and their gender and how they want to identify. Use the right name, the right pronouns, all those things. And ask. If you don't know, just ask. Oftentimes, I don't know. I see people in public, I'm like, to my best friends, like, hey, do you know what their gender is? I mean, I think we all do it sometimes. It happens. Sometimes you just really don't know. Just honestly, just go up and ask. Just, hi, what are your pronouns? Excuse me. Hi, what are your pronouns? No one's gonna get mad. It's really nice and respectful. Just ask. No mistakes. We all make mistakes. It happens. I make mistakes all the time. Over half my friends are transgender. Over half, and I still make it up. I still mess it up. I'm guessing you guys are not surrounded by that many transgender people every day. So I know you're gonna mess it up. That's totally okay. If you mess it up, just correct yourself. And that's showing that you are respecting them. That girl I was telling you about earlier, yeah, that girl is Miley Cyrus. Raise your hand if you remember her VMAs performance. Oh yeah, most people do. It was pretty inappropriate. Everybody hated it, but it helped her break her mold from everybody seeing her as Hannah Montana and now being able to be identified as how she wants to identify today. Today, she is a huge advocate for the LGBTQ community and has even started her own foundation to help LGBTQ youth. This is often a really common story for transgender people too. They often have to go through extreme efforts to try to get people to see them as this gender than the one that they were born as. Today, I've talked to you about identity, transgender pronouns, and ways you can respect them.